Now this is a gospel I understand. I understand where Jesus is coming from with the landowner, but I also understand where the complainers are coming from. I think most of us would have reacted that way if we were in their place. So this is basically a story about generosity versus greed. When are we entitled to something as fair? And when are we really just jealous of someone else's good fortune? That's the question. So, this jogged a memory of mine. My friend told me something many years ago. He was a Peace Corps friend, so we worked in Africa together, and then he moved on to Haiti for a while. He said to me, according to studies, don't ask me what those studies are, he said, wealth doesn't create happiness. Relative wealth generates happiness. It's an environmental thing. So what he was saying was if you have two people, basically the same guy, same general amount of money they make, one guy lives in the smallest mansion in a rich neighborhood, the second guy lives in the most expensive condo in a humble neighborhood, chances are that second guy will be happier because he will feel more superior to his neighbors. Again, it's an environmental thing. That is kind of what's going on in this gospel. Those complainers, the one that worked all day, they thought they were acting in a spirit of fairness, but the landowner calls them on that. Hey, you are getting exactly what we agreed upon and no less. They kind of got caught in their greed a little bit. But the thing of it is, it's clear that the exact amount of money was not the issue. The issue was they were expecting more than the others. They were anticipating being rewarded more than their fellow workers. And that is a particular kind of greed, and that is a very human thing. But here's something cool. Here is something I've come to appreciate about religion in general. Because most religions out there will say something at some point in some way, and it's just one of those things you believe or you don't. Most religions will proclaim that we are not defined by our corporeal matter and our worldly surroundings. Can money influence your idea of happiness? Almost certainly. Can you elect to be happy with whatever money you happen to have? Absolutely. Absolutely, because practically any decent religion out there will say that wealth does not generate happiness, relative wealth doesn't generate happiness, spiritual wealth is what generates happiness. And spiritual wealth does not come with a payment plan or a background check. You don't need to be better than anyone else to get it. It's just a bucket of money sitting there. All you have to do is take it. And it's limitless. Some people just can't believe that. They can't believe that there's more to life than nature and nurture, that we are defined entirely by our meat and our surroundings. So for those people who really believe that in the very pit of their soul, they would say that happiness means making as much wealth as you can and being as superior to others as you can be. That is the key to happiness. And those people, for all intents and purposes, are completely miserable because they're slaves. They are slaves to money and status, as if those things won't betray you the second you're old news. No, I believe in something just a little bit different. I believe in nature, nurture, and willpower. Okay, I believe in nature. Okay? Our biology certainly defines us. I would be crazy not to acknowledge that. My hormones, my genetics, the very way my individual mind works, that is what makes me me. If you mess with any of that, you mess with me as an individual. So that is true. And I also believe in nurture, that our environment does in fact influence us. All right? For example, I was raised Catholic. English is my primary language. When I was very little, I was introduced to astronomy and video games, and I continue to love them to this day. If I had a twin brother who grew up in China, why not? He would very likely be an extremely different person, in spite of the fact that our natures would be identical. All that's true. But in spite of all of that, I also believe in willpower, which is a gift from God. I believe that all of us have bad habits and sinful values that we are always able to overcome. Bad decisions are temporary if we're willing to learn from them. And each and every one of us has the power to be happy through spiritual wealth. I won't deny it. Illness, bankruptcy, and a rough childhood will make things tougher. But joy and happiness is ultimately between you and God. That is that simple sometimes. Through the Holy Spirit, we all have the power to choose to break the pattern of any worldly sin that we've become locked into. And if we live with that Spirit, if we refuse to be mastered and influenced and manipulated by the world and our environment that is surrounding us, if we don't give in to that, then we need never feel greedy or jealous of our neighbors or fellow workers ever again. That's what it means to draw your happiness from spiritual wealth.